How's it going, everyone? My name is Derek Afasi. I'm the owner of Afasi Financial Group and RetireSharp.com. Today's topic, I want to discuss in detail what to do with your 401k after you are deemed retired and how to avoid the most common mistakes that individuals make when just kind of leaving it to chance and leaving it on that same strategy or the status quo of what typical individuals do and basically taking on way too much risk. So with the 401k, the individuals that are probably watching this video understand that the 401k is a type of qualified employer-sponsored retirement plan that I want you to think of like a bucket. So when this individual was working for that private employer, they were probably getting paid some sort of salary. And what happened was this employer said, hey, if you want to start saving some dollars for retirement, we have this thing known as a 401k account. So it's kind of like a retirement bucket. So the amount of dollars that they were getting paid, let's say for easy math, this individual is getting paid $100,000 and they say, okay, I want to take a portion of my salary. I want to take 5% of my salary or $5,000 and place it into this retirement bucket. Well, then obviously those are the contributions that are being placed in. If the company also gave a match, let's say they gave a 5% match, well, that says that this person puts in 5%, well, then the company will put in 5%. So that year's contributions is going to be $10,000. And the 401k is a little bit tricky where you have to understand kind of the concept behind the 401k is it's not so much the contributions that are adding into this bucket. Obviously, the contributions are very important because if you don't put anything into your bucket, well, then there's obviously nothing to grow inside that bucket. But the way that this calculation works is the contributions that are being placed in and then the funding options that you have available with your 401k. So like if you have an aggressive growth portfolio or target date fund or stocks, bonds, ETFs, whatever that is, those are the different funding options available. So on the low end, you could see them as small as 5 different funding options to on the high end about 25 different funding options, but there's still very limited amount of options. So what happens is if this individual is going and they're choosing and they're looking at their 25 different funds and they say, okay, I want to put 25% portion into one fund, 25% portion into the other, et cetera, all based upon how well those funding options do is going to determine what their rate of return is. So if this individual kept placing in contributions, they were getting a match, then those would obviously go into that bucket, that 401k related bucket. And if this rate of return came back positive, well, then that was also going to add to that bucket a little bit further as well. So you're basically using the contributions plus whatever the gains are. So when individuals were going and placing their dollars in from the 1980s through, late 90s, they were seeing astronomical growth into those plans. And then when you hit 2000, you obviously saw some more volatility, and now the market's been, trending upward. But ultimately, there is a risk that's involved because when we're going a little bit further, and we had baby boomers that said, okay, it's in the early 2000s. I still feel confident about the market. I'm going to leave my 401k at chance, and I'm going to leave that invested into that more aggressive type style, that more aggressive type approach. Well, unfortunately, that's where they got hit with that minus 30%, minus 60% drops, those drawdowns in that 1 year. So if they walked into the year with $500,000 in their 401k bucket, based upon the contributions and their growth percentages throughout all those years, they said, okay, I'm going to retire in a couple of years. I have this nice lump sum amount of money that I could now leverage. And then all of a sudden they walk out of 2008 sitting with 250,000, 300 grand in their bucket. That's going to be a huge game changer. That's going to be a lifestyle change. That's where someone's going to have to really hone in on their budgeting. And it's because there was no safety net, this rate of return was able to come back positive or negative, and they got hit with that negative rate of return. Typically what happens with 401k accounts, and especially when that person is deemed retired, is they say, I want to use this 401k money and take withdrawals out of this bucket. I want to use this for retirement income. I have an income goal that I need to, have sufficed. And this is where the problem of reverse dollar cost averaging comes in. Is when individuals decide to leave their monies at that 401k provider or use that same sort of growth strategy and leave their money at risk and leave those monies with negatives, meaning fees and different things that could compound their accounts, further compound their accounts in a negative direction than in a positive direction. And what I mean by that is if you have a 401k bucket, and let's say you're invested in that 401k and you say, I want to start taking withdrawals out of that 401k, well, you already have 401k related fees within that account. On top of it, majority of 401ks offer mutual funds through their plans, so those are expensive type fees within those accounts as well. Let's say if you go to a financial advisor and that advisor is telling you some different systematic strategies on how to pull out withdrawals from those accounts, typically those advisors are telling you leave your money in the market. We're going to tack on some sort of advisory fee onto that, and that's going to be another negative, which is an advisor fee. So what we're doing is we're poking a couple of holes in the bottom of this bucket, and those are monies that are leaking out. The fourth negative is the downward market loss potential. Like in 2008, if you have an average portfolio loss 57%, or even something as small as a 30% loss, that's a large negative to that bucket. Then when they start pulling out income from those accounts, that's the fifth negative that's coming out. Then you start incorporating that they probably need to pull out more and more monies because their expenses, some of their expenses are going to be tied to inflation. So then you have inflation risk. And then now you have the longevity factor because you have technological advances. It's showing that individuals are living longer and longer. So now you have a longevity risk. So you have all these different risks, all these different negatives that are going against this account, and there's no safety net. There's no specific contractual guarantees that are established with these 401k accounts. And this is what it's this compound interest of negative aspects. Even after you receive a gain into your account, if all these negatives are much larger than whatever that gain is, well, then obviously that's going to be you're never going to actually be able to, it's like an uphill battle struggle. You're never going to be able to to get back to even. So it's all of these, not necessarily hidden factors, but it's just all these factors with reverse dollar cost averaging that further compound these negatives and therefore liquidate these accounts. And then what happens when an individual's in their 70s, they say, oh my gosh, I don't have any more money left, or I only have a couple of thousands of dollars left. Now I only have to rely on Social Security income and or rely on my children to help me out financially. So that's what we want to avoid with this video. I want you to be cognizant of what are their different approaches, what are their different things in order to achieve retirement confidence, retirement success by leveraging those 401ks after retirement. And there are different situations that we have that call into the office on a daily basis, and also academic research. We narrowed it down to 3 main criteria, and these are just generic criteria. And I try to mention this on a lot of my videos. And what I say is, if an individual is approaching retirement, or they're currently retirement, there's 3 main things that they have to figure out in order to stay retired forever. The number one most important thing is income. They need income in retirement. If you have $50,000 of expenses and you don't have any income streams coming in, and you have just a bucket of cash that's sitting there, well, you're going to go through that bucket very quickly. There's no actual plan set up. So how exactly do we segment that income goal properly and understand what your income sources are? The second thing is emergency funds. If you go and let's say you're receiving all that income, but then all of a sudden you get hit with a healthcare related expense or some other sort of oh my gosh type moment occurs, you want to make sure that you're having 6 to 12 months of reserves in liquid cash or in something completely liquid, meaning that you could access it, easily accessible, that you could always dip into, that's beyond whatever that income plan is. And then the third aspect is to combat inflation. If we understand that you have certain expenses, a portion of that might be fixed, a portion of that might be inflationary expenses. How do we make sure that we're setting up a systematic process that will step up with that inflationary need? So in the example, let's say if somebody is 60 years old and they say that, okay, I'm going to be, working part-time. I might have access to this 401k and be able to roll that out properly. I want to take out Social Security income early at age 62, and that's when I want to call it quits. Well, we understand there's certain expenses from his current age 60 or his or her current age 60, and there's going to be certain expenses when they retire at age 62. So what we try to do is send you guys over budgeting analysis, and we walk down and we talk about, okay, what are your monthly expenses today? What are going to be your monthly expenses at that age 62? And really try to make it ingrain that into the decimal point to figure out what this number has to be. So let's say, as a hypothetical example, this number is $50,000. But you're going to trigger Social Security income. Your need is $50,000. At age 62, if you're looking to trigger Social Security income early, maybe that's going to produce you an additional $30,000. So, and let's say you have your 401k monies that are sitting there of $500,000. So we understand if you're getting paid $30,000 from Social Security, but your need is $50,000, well then we have a $20,000 gap that we need to suffice. So this is where I like to use insurance-related products, preferably annuity contracts. And if it's coming from 401k monies, it would be rolled over into a specifically designed IRA annuity account through Income Rider, so that it allows you to trigger lifetime income, but still have control of your monies. God forbid if you pass away prematurely. God forbid if you need to pull monies from those accounts. It gives you more flexibility than old-fashioned annuities that forced you into surrendering those monies to the insurance company. So in this example, let's say you needed $20,000, you had a 2-year deferral before you're going to trigger that income. Maybe that's going to cost, 300 grand to place into that sort of IRA annuity contract that would trigger that $20,000 of income. So with that being said, you have IRA number one that was rolled over. That's something that the 401k can't do. It can't give you that lifetime income stream that the IRA hybrid annuity can give you. So this is, and it's set up by its contractual guarantees by the claims paying ability of that insurance company. And this is saying, okay, at exactly age 62, you trigger Social Security income, you trigger your IRA annuity income, and then bam, you're getting paid that $50,000. Well, out of this 500,000, we didn't take 500,000 and throw that into annuity. We only took 300,000. So now you have $200,000 that's left over. So now, like I mentioned before, we want to make sure that 6 to 12 months of emergency funds are established correctly towards emergency. So maybe this will be $50,000 into a money market IRA. And the reason why we're keeping it in an IRA is because these 401k monies are qualified retirement accounts. Rather than take the full $500,000 and throw it into your checking account, that's going to result in a huge tax bill right that year when you do that, when you're taking your qualified monies throwing it to non-qualified. So what we want to do is we want to transfer that or roll it over into an IRA so that you're not getting hit with the taxation until you start pulling out those monies. So that's the main premise of the rollover. So with this, we're just leaving it in that money market IRA account to say if we ever need to dip into it, if you ever came to the oh my gosh moment, we could pull those monies out. But this money market is extremely safe. It's not going to be, swinging for the fences. The market's going up. It's just basically you're barely going to be getting an interest rate, but it's just like a cash account that's essentially sitting there, and we're making sure that's underneath that IRA chassis. Now, so if we took $50,000 out of that remaining $200,000, now we have $150,000 that we could splice up for either a specific inflationary need, meaning if we're trying to determine what inflation is in between 2 to 4% per year, we could have micro income streams getting triggered at that age, 65, another one at age 67, another one at age 70. Or we could leverage different accounts, IRA-related accounts, more on a managed money side that is giving you that same sort of risk as a 401k, but have much higher quality, cheaper options than what your 401k options are. So we're reducing the fees, putting you in a more eggs to choose from with this inflationary need. So this could actually be tackled a couple of different avenues. But let me clear up the screen. What you notice is we're not just saying, oh, yeah, I retired. I have my 401k. We're just going to take a guess at what we do with this. We're saying, no, let's set it up like a perfect puzzle piece specific to whatever your goals are. If you're 60 or, 55 years old or whatever it is, there's a specifically designed process that you have to do with these 401k monies, whether that means leave a portion in the 401k and draw down directly from that 401k and then triggering the IRA contract income streams later on, or if you've already sufficed your income streams, maybe you want to maximize this out as an inheritance. Maybe you want to maximize this out on growth strategies, different things like that that are going to be able to compound interest. And all it is just a big game of leverage to say, okay, rather than take the lump sum and just put it into another lump sum, why would you do that if you have the option to splice it up into specifically designed categories? And that's what we try to help you guys out with. So if you found value in this video and you found value in some of the different topics that I was discussing, please feel free to give our 1-800 number a call. It's 1-800-566-1002. We offer 24/7 customer service. We use a proprietary system known as a Retire Sharp planning system that allows us to go through a whole slew of different strategies, contracts, products specific to whatever your area is to make sure that we're narrowing down whatever the best approach is. And but first and foremost, we want to make sure that education is key. We have to have transparency. When calling over to our 800 number, you're going to deal with an assistant. Tell that assistant which video that you watched online, and then that assistant's going to patch you over to a specialist who's ever next available, and then that specialist is going to ask you a slew of questions to really understand what your point A, what is your situation currently, what is the situation that you want to get to, can you accomplish that goal by just staying put at what you're doing, or does it make sense to make slight tweaks to have that overall larger impact to get you to that destination successfully? So we do this through the form of personalized videos, through literature pieces, different things to help out with the educational process so that you understand it's transparency. You're understanding everything of what those recommendations are. We're not just beating you over the head with a hammer saying we're the greatest things ever and just listen to us. We want to make sure that you're educated and this is your retirement. You only have one chance to get things done correctly. So in closing, I want to, thank you very much for watching this video. Please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you could have access to the most updated videos. Thanks so much, guys.